Thank you so much. Please humble apologies about my language. I've been learning English on the road, as the other languages. So I hope I could be easy to understand. Don't hesitate if something is not clear. Please, we are between friends. So stop me and we try to explain better if necessary. Anyway, this is the instrument is called al-oud, with a certain letter which do not exist in the European languages. And we shall have some documents, and we shall follow more or less the idea of the book, so that you can have clear ideas about the history and the possibilities and the evolution of the instrument. So first, we have to lit this. That's the first proof. Please, may we have some pictures? So we are in Morocco 30 years ago, with a woodmaker whose name is Maghrib in Meknes, in the town of Meknes. And this photograph is very interesting because there are a lot of details. The main thing is this. This is the mould. This is a piece of wood which requires 2 or 3 months of work. And this is the shape on which the instrument is going to get its own form, its own lines. And you can see here, you can see kind of ribs. These are parts of wood, all in a one, and afterwards, with the help of fire, each rib is going to be put on this form with little nails, and little by little the box, the sound box of the instrument is built. And this is very important because all the geometry of this mold is going to develop itself to get all the proportion of the instrument, which means that the master, until nowadays in Orient and North Africa, don't use designing on a paper, but this is the key of all designs. You know, as perhaps you know, in the general Islamic arts, the geometry is called handasa, and when you ask about handasa, you have no answer. People use not to give you no answer. But when you find some master of handicraft painting the ceilings in Fez or in Marrakesh, you can realize the way they work. They work with nails and ropes. One nail here, one nail here, a rope, and this is a line. And they design circles and all the geometrical lines, and little by little, the designs are appearing. So this is the first point. The main point is this mold. Now here, this instrument is from Damascus. This is from a family of makers, Armenian makers in Syria. This was made in the 30s, and the name of the maker is Nahhat. Nahhat means sculpture, because the grandfather of the family was a stone carver, you know. And this is the instrument which is in the Museum of Paris, and all details will be given little by little. The first thing we notice is this, which name is Shamsiyat. Shamsiyat means which symbolizes the sun. And this is the two pieces here are Kamariyat, which mean the moons. So we have a first indication about planets, the sun, the moons. And inside, as we shall see afterwards, there are pieces of wood this way, and there are 7, and each one is dealing with a planet. Excuse me. He is a very famous singer, Farid al-Atrash. He is from Syria. He is a Druze, and he was a prince, in fact. So, to prevent his relatives to be ashamed by his playing the oud, he escaped from Syria and he settled in Egypt, but he became so famous that the shame was anyway. He is Farid al-Atrash, and he plays one oud from Syria. He was a very famous composer, singer, and a very, very famous oud player. Farid al-Atrash. So we are 46 centuries before, in the civilization of Akkad in Mesopotamia. And we shall see two designs, two sculptures representing playing the lute. As you see, this man wears almost nothing. And it could be strange, but we could have at that time a relationship in between nudity, being nude, and the sacred, because the man is born nude and is going to be buried nude. And as you know, in India, for example, some mystical people is living without, and in the American Indians too. And we shall have some details about the instrument. It's the same civilization. This is a terracotta, which is in the Musée de Rome in Paris. And as we shall see afterwards, we can, looking at this shape, we shall realize that this is a tortoise shell. The sound box of the instrument is the tortoise shell. And this instrument, in French we said embroché, which links with barbecue, So here you have a piece of wood from ear to ear, and as a soundboard we have a skin of goat, And we shall see an instrument which is very close to this and which is only a century old. This is the word al-ud. This is to be written this way. So this letter is ain, and so in Arabic this makes al-ud, and it became through Spain. It was changed and became al-laoud, and then in French le lute, and then le lute, and lute in English, and laute in German. And in German, which is interesting, is that laute means the sound. So it's the instrument which symbolizes the sound, al-ud. There are several meanings. This could mean a stick. This could mean the wood, in generally speaking, and this could mean, which is with the instrument, this could mean the wood per se, the wood, the excellency of the wood, and for a maker, what you could build, the noblest the noblest thing you could build with the wood. So there are some levels of meaning. So this is one instrument from Morocco, which is a century old. And you can see, as we have seen on the little statue, this is a tortoise shell. The neck of the instrument is going on here, but it becomes thinner, so the strings are knocked here, not on the body of the instrument, but at the hand. It's like a bow, you know. It's like a bow because here it's a little bit supple. So when you tune the string through the pegs, the tension makes this piece of wood up, so you get a good tension of the skin. And it's very powerful. It's a little instrument. It was played in all musics of Morocco, and at well, let us say 20 years ago, some shepherds used to play it and to build it, you know. The name is Gambri. This is a Grecian lute found in a tomb, you know, found in a sarcophage. And this is 300 years before Christ, you know. It's fantastic because we do have a 23 centuries instrument. So it has been rebuilt. And here the sound board is of wood. And it was, as you see, a two-string instrument. This is a wall picture in the north of Syria. This is Qasr Hamra. And you see that Arab people used to play the same instrument as we have seen before, because the two civilizations had been in touch, Byzantine civilization and Arabic. They were fighting. But as you know, these do not prevent musical instrument from crossing the borders. So the design is this is the archaeological design. Then they renewed it here, and so the shape of the instrument is this one. This is a Roman, it's the same historical time, 3 centuries or 1 century before Christ, you know. And look, this is a lutanist, a woman lutanist playing an instrument which is not built, as we have seen on the first photograph, but curved into a single piece of wood. Because this is another way. You can build the instrument piece by piece. You can use a tortoise shell, as we have seen, and you can curve it from a single piece of wood. So we call this in French monoxyle. Perhaps you have this word, I don't know, which means a single piece of wood from ear to ear. It's broken, but anyway. So look that the statue is very elegant. This instrument is carved here, and this is the famous way of kind of this piece of wood and the strings here. This is played by, this is called Ahjuj, and this is played by the Brotherhood of Gnawa, black people generally speaking. Another instrument which is curved within a single piece of wood from ear to ear. This is from Afghanistan or from Pakistan, and this is called Rabab. Which is, the wood is called tut. This is mûrier. I don't know the trend. Please? Mulberry? Mulberry. So, thanks. So most of the instruments in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey are made of, when they are curved through this kind of tree, because it's a very convenient wood for working when you carve with the tools. And you put the wood within water and you work on it when it's wet, never when it's dry, to prevent from breaking. Another Moroccan instrument, which is the smallest, which is called Swissen, only 2 strings and always the same thing, 1 piece carved and then the neck which is put on it. This is from Yemen. This is carved too within a single piece of wood, and here this piece is put on it, and the skin, which is always green, as it is seen in the ancient miniatures. This is called Oud Sana'i or Kanbus, and there are perhaps 2 or 3 persons left playing it nowadays. And it's played on the chest, as we shall see on. These are the same kind of instrument. This is from India, the baul instrument. This is from Central Asia, Badakhshan. And this is from Tibet, and this is from Nepal. And it's always the same way, you see. It's carved within a single piece, and here a skin. And you see again, green skin. And it's played on the chest, and very convenient if you like to play, sing, and eventually dance. It's possible with this kind of instrument. This is a Japanese lute, because after a lot of researches, it's clear now that the lute appeared in the Middle East and through the history followed the Silk Road, reaching China and afterwards Japan. And interesting detail is that this piece of skin is from a fish, and on the Arabic wood, as I shall show you afterwards, there is a piece of wood here, which name is fish skin, rakma, you know. So when you compare the things, some detail give explanations. And you shall see, this is apparently far away from the Arabic lute, but you shall see an ancient picture in Qasar el-Hamra in Syria, which is very, very close. You see here the moons are not full, only crescents. And the bridge is get the same shape, and the whole shape is very close. You see? Japan, north of Syria, but this is in the 5th century before Islam. This is a Persian miniature, and this instrument is called Barbot. This is the Persian acception of al-oud, and we have understood that this color of wood indicates the same wood as before. Marbury, you said? That's the same. This is Barbot. Barbot means duck, because if you put the instrument on a table, the shape of the peg part, it looks like the head of a duck, and this is the body. And from time to time, there is a little Q, as we shall see on one other photograph. So we come back to the al-oud, the Arabian instrument, and this is an Arabian instrument made in Brazil, because this family of Armenian makers of Damascus, who had been working for 2 centuries, they immigrated in Brazil in the 60s and arriving in Brazil, they stopped making wood and they made furniture, you know, because there is a lot of good wood for luxury furniture in Brazil. But after something as 10 years, the father died, and the son, whose name is Elias, had a dream. And within the dream, he saw his father saying, "Please, again, make instruments. Again, instruments." So he awake, he was shocked, and he began building instruments again. And as there are a lot of Lebanese people in Brazil, it was easy to sell, you know. But he was a great master of designs. And here it's very interesting because this was made in the 50s, you know. But the style of design is what we call in Paris Art Nouveau, you know, modern style of the 20s, you see. So how do you call it? Peacock, no?
Yes.
So peacock is almost not stylized, you know. It's close to naturalistic design. Not completely, but not so far. And here the designs are, there is a symbolism, a stylization of the branches, but not close to the naturalistic stuff, you know. Oh. And here there is a fantastic poem which was composed by an Arabic Lebanese poet of the beginning of the century, speaking of the instrument and speaking of the dryness, because when you cut a tree, it has to be dried before working. So a tree is to be cut 25 years at least before working in the lutherie art, you know. So it's supposed to be dry. But there is, in the poem, there is a play in between dry and wet, because the wood is dry, but it makes a very sensitive music, so that you cry and it becomes wet. So it's very beautiful. This is a Jewish instrument made in Morocco in the 19th century in the town of El Essaouira. And this instrument is the typical North African instrument, which proportion is not the same as the Oriental lute. This part, you know, the neck, what is to be taken in account is the length of the vibrating string from ear to ear, the bridge, and here in Arabic it's called the nose. So this is divided in 5, and here you have 2 parts, and here you have 3 parts. So this means that if you shorten this string of 2/5, you get the 6th interval. Because there is a relationship in between the art of vibrations and the length of the string, and that's the science which has been explained by Pythagoras. You know. So handasa, the mastering of geometry in the handicraft of lutherie, is something very deep, because each qualitative proportion means something within the space and within the world of vibrations. So it's fantastic. So it enables to determine all the proportion of the instrument, and which is very important. Inside, we have what we call the bars, yeah, the pieces of wood inside, and the right place should be chosen so that the instrument gets might and color. You know. So this is called oud ramal. Ramal means sand, but it's dealing with the art of poetry, because ramal is one of the 19 measurement of poetic art in Arabic. which are given by the verb make, fa'ala. So you can have fa'ilun, mafa'ilun, fa'ilun, mafa'ilun. For example, this is the example of one poetic rhythm. And Ramal is one of these poetic rhythm. So nudity again, for women this time. This is a joke in the book because this is a painting of Hammam by Inger, the French painter. You know, I just noticed that she plays an instrument, but after 10 minutes of this very wet and warm bath, this is going to fall down in pieces, because this is the way you take the instrument in part without breaking it by wetness of them. These are the plectrums, which are used to pluck the strings. This is made with the squill of eagle feather, and this is tortoise shell, and all are chosen so that you could work on the edge of the plectrum, so that it has to become very smooth, as smooth as you can, so that you get a very beautiful sound. So that's the reason why these matters are chosen. Yes, I don't see, excuse me. Yes, so it's the way of designing a simple lute. So you see, no, you don't see. I see here. So you made the principal axis. It's like in the traditional architecture. You have to give the orientation. From one center, you have two lines, and then you begin designing the circles with compasses. And then you have multiplication of the circles. It's very simple. And then you design the six-branch star. And then we go on, and we found from, I don't see the point. From this point, we can design, this is mandorle, vesica pieces. You see this shape, which is a classical shape in qualitative geometry, you know. And then you shall add this half circle, and you get the shape of almond, which is the shape of the instrument. And little by little, you shall find all the qualitative places of each part of the instrument, so that at the end, this part is the third part of the string, so that when you play this note, you suppress the length of 1/3, and you get the 5th note. So this is the main design of Oriental lute. And then you get all the proportion. And you see these pieces, where is the point? Excuse me, I don't see clearly. It's too clear. But anyway, these horizontal lines are the pieces of wood dealing with the 7 planets. And this is the research I did for looking for the design of the lute, which is in the Museum of Paris. Let's see. And well, it was 1 week without, it seemed simple, but it was 1 week without sleeping, and liters of coffee. It's very interesting. It's kind of an adventure, and because you put the instrument on a big sheet of paper, you try to design it as close as you can, And then you take this home and you begin your research. And of course, it's very interesting. There is a way of finding the center of the curves. You know, here, for example, again, you can have a straight line here. You look for the middle of the line, you put the perpendicular, and then again, and when it crosses, you can find the center. It's very interesting. Again, the simplest instrument. You see that from divider and compasses and ruler, you always obtain harmonic shapes. The proportions are always interesting. And this does not mean that you would find only one. Through divider and ruler, you can find hundred of shapes, you know. So this is up on the screen. You see the design of the European lute, and down you see how it happened in Spain, passing from the lute to the guitar. It's the same principle, a circle, two circles, a circle, two circles, but they change the lines here, this way, and then you get violin or guitar. As you know, we have the designs of Stradivari and all the great Italian luthiers. We have all the designs on paper. But anyway, we cannot succeed in making such beautiful instruments. This is the design, the research for the Moroccan instrument, which, the Jewish one we have seen before. You know, it's another way of construction. And as I told you, the proportion of the neck is different. Again, another way, the same instrument. A detail is on the bridge, you see the shape of a shell. And this is typical Moriscos aesthetic. Because the way of decoration on the lute of North Africa and Middle East is not at all the same. The style is completely different. And this is a research by an American, John Dowing, which is very interesting because he had the luck of finding a Nahhat wood which was dealing with the square. You know, where is the... This is the square for handicraft people. The proportion is 3, 4, 5. You know, 3, 4. This is the Pythagorean square. So it's here again, and it's here again, you know. So he had the luck of finding something which was falling down to this rule. And as you know, the luthier and all the makers and architecture used to employ this square. This is another way of designing the Damascus Road, which I found last week. So this triangle able to find the golden proportion here, and it enables to build the 5 branches star on which the instrument is designed again. And it's simpler and more efficient and very beautiful. And I had this idea because some of the lutes of Nahhat wood had a star, a 5-point star in the rosette. This is, again, a Nahhat rosette, which is in London, and which is fantastic. This is 11 centimeter of diameter, you know. And you have ivory, This is the wood of the soundboard. And here there are lines which are made of tortoise shell. You know. And the way of putting all this together is incredible of precision. At that time, this was made close to 2 centuries before. So imagine the tools, which are not the same as today. Today, with the laser, you cannot do better than this. Perhaps less, because with laser you burn ivory, you know. And here there is, it's fantastic. When you look at it, it's incredible. People used to say that because in Damascus, it was said that it was a very important town for witches, you know. And it was said that they used to work with witches. And there are stories of the souk of Damascus. They said that this man used to enter his shop, to lock the door, and to spend 3 or 4 days without getting out. And people used to listen strange noises, very strong noises. And when he used to go out, to come out, he had 20 rosettes in his hand, each one different from the other. That's the story. So some rosettes. This is one Nahhat, which is designed on the number of 11. This is made of mother of pearl, you know. This is another from Syria, which is on my instrument. My instrument is Armenian, from Turkey, but when I was able to get it, the rosette was not a genuine rosette, so I changed it for this one. This was made designed by my Turkish master, Jinucem Tanrıkoğlu, who was an architect, you know. This is on his own instrument. This is one Moroccan, which they used to employ in the 70s, 60s, 70s. And this one, the last one, can you see the points? This one, anyway, this one. There is a story about this one, you know. Because in the 70s, I was living in Fez, in Morocco, and I was in touch with a fantastic luthier whose name was Mohammed Ben Harbit, Tahar Ben Harbit Al-Alami. And we had a very good relationship. And I learned a lot of things through that man. He was an old man. And once I went and said, I would like to have the ancient Moroccan lute. And he said, I never built, but my grandfather used to build. And he had the mould, which was the main thing. And so we decided, and he built it. And when at the end, we reached the time of making the rosette. He had no idea. And he used to tell me, oh, I'm going to visit some medersa, some historical places in Fez, and I shall find the right design, because he knew it was more or less a heart. And I was waiting, and I was young, so it was very difficult to wait. So once, metter la pata, comment on dit faire une gaffe? Well, anyway, I made a big mistake. Smudge. Right. I had a big, beautiful smudge in Fez. Which way? It was the time Algeria and Morocco were fighting because of Sahara, the desert of Sahara. So they were enemies. The smudge was that I brought the photograph of an Algerian lute. You don't find, but I have one. He said, this is Algerian. So he became angry. He became very angry. So the color of his face changed several times within 5 minutes, from yellow to red to blue and so on. And it was very bad condition for me. At once, it took a pencil and a shift of paper, and with the hand moving this way because of the angriness, you know, at once, he made this design. At once. So, this design for me is angriness transformed into art. And if you watch it very clearly, there are three different kind of leaves and branches at once. So,
freehand.
Please?
Freehand or with compasses?
Yeah, no, freehand, this way. It was making this motion, but the design was ready at once. And then it became very calm. And I was ready to cry, you know, of shame. Anyway, Ben Harbit la rahmu. Look. Again, in Nahhat, here there is the signature in the middle. Abdul, this is the Armenian name, Abdul Nahhat wa Aulado, which means the master Nahhat and his sons. This is, again, 11 centimeter ivory rosette. 11 centimeters, you realize? And within this space, you have all the rules of Arabian music. This is a lecture of musical grammar. Here you have 45 numbers here, because on 2 octaves in Arabic music you need 48 notes. Then in front you have the name of each note, because each note is got a name which could have a meaning. For example, Al-Hussein, which is in a relationship with the nephew of the Prophet. You know. Muhayyir, which means giving life, and so on. So then you have here the maqams, which are the musical modes dealing with the notes. And here you have what is called the zodiacal identities, you know, here. And here you have the basic note, mutlaq al-yakka, which is the absolute reference of the scales. So 11 centimeters of ivory and all the rules of Arabian music. And this is from Nahhat, Abdul Nahhat. This instrument was played by an Egyptian musician in the States. And once he came back on holidays to see his family in Cairo, and he bought this instrument in the market of Al Cairo for the price of $70, the instrument. So this is the Nahhat again in Paris, you know. The soundboard has been changed, in fact. This is not, this wood is from Switzerland, in fact. But anyway. So this is, again, the same instrument, but the names which are written have been collected. I've been collecting all these names through my travels in North Africa and Middle East, you know. So you shall see that you will see that there are 2 references. Here, for example, the head. Here, and another name is the house of sparrows, because the pegs are called sparrows. the last piece of the instrument is called the diamond. This is the nose or the comb, because here again, again here, because the strings are separated up there, so that's the reason why it's called the comb. This is the mirror, because it's a piece of bone, camel bone, which should be very smooth, so it's called the mirror. It could be called the arm. This is going down the rose of or the almond. Poitrine is a chest. These little points here, are indicating south, west, and east, cardinal points. This could be called the belly or stomach. This could be called the moons or the eyes. This is the house of Plectrum, or which name is fish skin, again, the famous fish skin which we have seen green before is here. The bridge is called tower or rider. Pedestal. Pedestal is the little piece of wood on which the king puts his feet. And here the ankles, and I am afraid it could be called bottom. I'm afraid. It says in Syria they say bottom. So you see that it's dealing with the human body on one hand, or the cosmos on the other hand. And in the tradition, of course, the relationship in between macrocosm and microcosmos is very well known. So it's indicated by the lute itself. So we come back to England with Robert Flood, whom I suppose you know. And this is one of his famous designs on which the meaning of a string is symbolized. This is a relationship in between the sky and the earth. So the sky, you see the God's hand tuning the instrument out of the clouds. And down, in fact, the bridge stands for the man. So the string is the relationship in between man and God. Earth and sky, man and God. So in this way of regarding, all the proportion have a meaning. So the meaning is the planet. Within Christianity, the meaning could be the Virgin, could be Christus, could be the 12 apostolos, and so on. Again, the instrument of Nahhat in Paris. This is le noyer, walnut, no?
Yes, might be walnut.
No, walnut is small.
Yes.
The big one,
The big one.
le noyer. This is a tree. A noyer. It makes a nut, but big nut like this, which you should break to hit them.
Chestnut.
I think
Chestnut?
chestnut is small.
Not the small, the biggest one.
I think, no,
Walnut.
I think it's yeah.
Big, yes. So the color of this wood is brown, but here you see it close to red. It's a way of cutting the tree, which was known by Armenian handicraft people. It's a way of cutting the tree in a certain moment of the year, and the tree should be fixed on the trees of the neighborhood, and you begin cutting down close to the earth. You suppress a piece of wood, just like a circle, and so the how do you call the water which is in the wood gets away, And when you cut the string, the tree, after 10 years of dryness, it becomes red. And very beautiful. And for finishing, when I was young, this is an Egyptian instrument which was made for a prince. And you see the details of designs. And here on the neck, this is ivory and tortoise shell, and on the face too. And it's a fantastic instrument. It came home by itself. I was not looking for, but it's a fantastic instrument. So we finish here. Thank you for listening. I hope I've been clear enough. And of course, if you have some questions, I would try to answer your questions. Please.
Thank you so much, because I think, well, we all want to hear you play.
Yes, of course. How long do we have still?
I think we have plenty of time. What time is it now? It's 8.
So we have 1 hour left?
No, we've got another half hour. It's Catherine at the back. But I think we have half an hour. So
Half an hour.
is that right, Catherine? Yes. So we've got. Yes. So we have plenty of time. I'm just thinking, in a way, because it would be nice when you've finished playing, not to ask questions. I think maybe now is a good time to ask questions, because it's just after speaking and people it'll be fresh in their minds of what they might like to say. I thought it was wonderful to see so much geometry, because being at the Prince's School, we do a lot of geometry. And I don't know if anyone, we have Simon at the back and Richard here. Sorry, I just say, but it was fascinating to see the proportions and the emphasis on the importance of proportion for the sound.
Yes, of course.
Which is what our great mentor, Professor Keith Critchlow, would talk about a lot.
You see, this would require some lectures with the monochord, monostring, which was the instrument on which Pythagoras used to teach music, and which was used until the 18th century in Europe for teaching music to monks, you know, because it's a very efficient way.
The one chord, the monochord.
Yes, the monochord. So that to realize and to learn the basis of harmony and modal music, monochord is fantastic, quite fantastic, and it's very deep, and it's very philosophical study. And very interesting, and at once very clear. For example, I could show some details. You know, it's very easy. Let us say that this string will have 1 meter. It's simpler. So if I press my finger so that the vibrating part is only the half, 50 centimeters, I get the octave. You see? So the frequency of the note is double and the length is half. So you have first relationship. If I press the string here, the beginning, the hand of the neck, beginning of the soundboard. This is 1/3. 1/3 here, 2/3 the center of the sun, and 3rd the bridge. You know, I get the fifths. It's easy to count. If I press on the quarter part, so here 25, here 75, I would have the fourth. And again and again. one tone. This means that this part is the ninth proportion of the whole, and so on and so on. And in the traditional music, all the proportions are simple. Nowadays, if you give the proportion of vibration on a piano, modern tuning, you never have simple numbers. You have inextractable numbers, in fact. How do you call this? Racine carrée? In mathematics, this. Square root. You know that a lot of numbers, you cannot extract the square root. Most of the, all of the notes of the modern piano, which it was not like this in the beginning of piano, because in the beginning of piano, the tuning was not the same. It's not only the highness, no, it's the way of tuning. So on a modern piano, it's only square roots, which are impossible to extract, which means that on the level of principles, it's never absolute. And precisely, it's dealing with the civilization of relativism, precisely. So when you study the language of music, you can make a philosophical link with the civilization in which it's developed. And when you study the monochord, it's very clear. Anyway. Well, other questions?
No, that's beautiful. You say it's very clear, but because also this relationship between heaven and earth, you were talking about the symbol.
Yes.
And man and God.
Yes.
And I love the way you say it's very clear, make it sound very easy.
In Quran there is a verse in which it is said that the man is taken by the hand of God through some air, this way, and this is the same picture, because there is a tension here, and if you make a relationship in between the knowledge of the Western lute and the Eastern lute, it's very interesting, because you see that the roots are the same. For Christian lute, this is the celestial Jerusalem.
The celestial Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, yes. And it could be regarded as archetypes, because you prepare the expression of harmony by tuning first. So all the possibilities are here, and then they appear in the world, And when you play with the ancient lute, Oriental lute, and the actual European lute, you have frets, which are gut threads, which make kind of a scale. And the image is that this hand working down and up, this is the motion of angel on the scale. Who is the prophet who had this dream? Jacob's please?
Jacob's ladder.
That's the way. So this design is the, and again. Because we discovered that in Europe, they had a mystic brotherhood of lutenists. So the symbolism was developed incredibly. Any questions? Please?
I have a question. I find it fascinating that the instrument exists in all these different countries in slightly different forms, but when people play, what I'm interested in is the kind of the drone sound. And a lot of the played music, you have a bass note that's repeated, or it's a kind of drone.
Yes.
In lots of music across the world. Does that have a symbolic meaning?
Of course. Well, first, the first division we know about the modes is that each one was dealing with a planet. So the symbolism of one planet, of course. So Venus has a certain meaning. and that's the reason why the reason why these sonorous piece of wood which are inside add each one a certain quality. The way you cut this piece of wood within the tree is not the same for Venus or for Mars, for example. One is very supple, the other is something aggressive, you know, the reaction is aggressive, and so on and so on, you know. And so the 7 first modes became more than this. Then you have a system with 24. That's the lecture I'm going to have after tomorrow in Warburg Institute about articulation and symbolism of modes. And so there was because of this relationship, there was a musical therapy. And the modes were dealing with the 4 humors of the body, you know. And the Moroccan lute, Jewish Moroccan lute, which we've seen, is got only 4 coils, 8 strings, divided into 4 ranks, and all of gut, and each one was got a color, you know, yellow, red, white, black. And these are the colors of mosaics in Morocco. The traditional ones, in time of Spain, only 4 colors, because it was dealing with the quality of the humors. As the Moroccan classical musician used to play with 4 colors. The jalaba is white, the fez is red, the shoes are yellow, and on the fez there is a piece which is black. Yes. Shusha, it's called shusha. So and in proportion, because this white on the whole body is meaning that you master your own body, for example. So this is the Belram, which is what is it called in English? Very well done.
Is it somewhere on the body?
The humor, the liquids. Spleen is dark. Please. Bile, you have black bile, yellow bile, blood. Phlegm. This is. So you master yourself. That's the meaning.
That's the meaning of dressing in white.
Yeah, dressing in white.
That's very interesting. Can
Yes,
you talk about the symbolism of the other?
Because the yellow bile is dealing with aggressivity.
Yes.
So you put it within the feet, so you use it for moving. Oh. So you make it within a canal to master it again. The idea is mastering, yes. you know. And the blood, why is the blood here? Because the thinking and the brain is too cold. The mental stuff is too cold. So you have to warm it through the blood, you know. And the black bile is necessary. So you put it in little quantity and up in the exterior so that it could be cleaned through the wind. Oh. So you are ready to go. Yes. Please change your way of choosing your clothes. But this would require more time. Yes, anyway, what I would say in my own mind is that what could be very interesting here would have been to work. You could see afterwards, it would be to work on these designs and the way of making this design from one instrument. And there is a fantastic book published by the Ashmolean Museum about the collection of guitars, for example, violins, violas, English guitars, and so on. And the photographs are very precise, very well So we could have the designs and the art of looking for the geometrical way of designing. It's very interesting. And then again, you meet the meaning of proportion within the space and within the musical space. And you could have a much better sight on what is modern music and what is traditional music, you know, because we say in French centripète, centrifuge.
Centripetal.
You have this, so yes, yeah. Let us say that. Well, this is not. But the whole tendency of modern music is centrifuge. How did you say?
Centrifugal or centrifugal?
Centrifugal. And traditional music is the contrary. Is looking for reaching the center.
Yeah. So it's inward.
Inward center. Even if by dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. So, because the first meaning because here with all these designs, we are in relationship with the shape of the instrument, the vibration of the instrument, and the qualitative numbers. And another aspect of these numbers is the rhythm, the cyclical rhythm, which is very interesting because cyclical rhythm is kind of immobility within mobility. Because as it reproduces itself the same during the life of a melody, for example, it's something which changes and which don't change, does not change. Where is my? Let's see. For example, just 1 minute with this. In tradition, in North Africa and Middle East and so on, you need 3 kinds of sounds to have a rhythm. You need female sound, male sound, and androgynous sound. And because this is the philosophy of La Malaouya. This is the brotherhood of Walin dervishes. You know.
Is that female, male,
and androgynous. So this the low sound is female because it gets you like this. You know, this is male because there is something dry and aggressive. This is wet, and it takes you like this, you know. Then, and the other one is. So with this is dom, tac, s. With these 3 sounds, because the tambourine is round as the world, and to produce the life, you need these 3 qualities. That's all. If I say dom, tac, es, tac, dom, tac, es, tac, dom, this is a meaning. If I do and look the so that's the basis, and then after you have the rhythm, you have the numbers. Tum, 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 tum. This is 5. If I do this is 4 and 3. This is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. it's divided, you see. So this is the basis of architecture, is in relationship with the numbers, but with these three genres, so that it becomes vivid. That's the way. Anyway, let us listen to some lute. Perhaps I have to keep the...
Thank you so much for that. I think we could all listen to you. It's fascinating for many more hours, but having a taste of your playing.
Yes, of course, but
drumming,
I have
we would love
to take this out because it... perhaps here.
I think which it's at 2, I think.
Yes,
at 2 o'clock. Yes. So anyone who actually plays.
Try to realize what has been said. Just for showing, the last piece which I played is based. This is a Turkish Malawi. He is a composer. Really did it. He was a composer for the Wali Dervishes. Perhaps here there is more light. So the rhythm of the piece, which is called Sassemai. If I play with the feet and the sound of the drum, do, de, dum, dum, de, do, de, dum, dum, which is 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 1, 2, 3. But if you say 10, it's no meaning. Meaning is through the sounds which articulate the rhythm. Do, de, ga, dum, dum, de. That's the reason why the traditional Oriental way of teaching is without instrument. Because you are not supposed to play the piece before you are able to play. And so on. So that this way is very important because it tends to put you back within the mood, which has been the mood of the composer, the moment the music came to him, because he uses the same. So afterwards, it explains the reason why traditional musicians are able to improvise, are able to change the sentence, saying the same thing, as you are able to act yourself when you speak, and the musician should be in this position. So flamenco players, Grecian folk musicians, anyway, and English fiddle players too, because this is the tradition. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you.